welcome to another episode of Drew's Sports Crew here on this Monday night. Um, Myself, Drew Skyberg, here back, bringing you another episode. There's been the last 2 weeks, there's been a plethora of technical difficulties. The microphone situation with that software I use, I don't know what's going on. I'm going to have to just double check everything's working right now as the last 2 weeks, audio has been corrupted. Journey to Million, fortunately, worked out fine. I've been putzing around here now for a while trying to get this to work. I'm not sure what is going on, and sure enough, I'm hearing it. I'm hearing us now. So that's good. That's good news. Good news is hearing us live here. I'm gonna just take one moment here and double check, and then we'll get into the show. We are good. Okay. So turns out the software I use doesn't just wants to add more time to the process. It won't right after I test my microphone, it actually will stop working, which is very odd considering I don't know. I don't understand. I'm fortunate to be with you all here tonight. And look, we have a lot to celebrate, a lot to reflect with the Brewers. It's International Podcast Day, and that's why I was like, out of all days, we must have an episode. Technical difficulties aside, I was like, I got to get one out. So I'm really happy to be back here with everybody here on Monday night, as usual. Look, the Brewers made it in the postseason. We knew that last week. Well, you couldn't hear me talk about it because the audio went and was corrupted, but I was excited. The division title, it was fun. But look, let's chat about it. We also got the Packers. We'll talk about yesterday's game. I feel like a day and a half passed now. I feel like the Brewers are a bigger priority, but still an interesting game, aside. So let's get into it here. To start, again, with the Brewers, look, the crazy game 161 and 162 between the Braves and the Mets, both of those respective teams. That was something I haven't really seen before, right? It gets postponed to the hurricane, and our thoughts are definitely with people affected by that. But the game gets postponed here Monday, a doubleheader, 2 games, and look, it was a game. It was intense. That first game 161 for both teams was arguably one of the best regular season games this year. So the second last game of the season ends up being one of the best. That was pretty cool, I thought. But otherwise, just between those two teams, and I know this is not a Mets or Braves show, but just insane to see because the scenario went as follows. So right, if the Mets and Braves split as they did, we have the Mets coming to Milwaukee and the Braves are coming to or going to San Diego. And then if the Braves were to sweep, they would have been again going, and the Diamondbacks, or if either team swept, the Diamondbacks would have been in and the other team would have been out, basically. And the team would have been the 5 seed then. So in this case, the Mets would have swept and won game 2. They would have been actually going to San Diego. So the talks were, it's a shorter flight. Let's have them. They're like, the Brewers aren't as scary, even though the Brewers went 5-1 against the Mets this year. Oh well, not our problem. But we get the Mets, and after this weekend series, I think you like that matchup. Quintana probably wouldn't be able to go until a game 3, maybe a game 2 bullpen scenario. You got to be probably happy with that. It seems right now Luis Severino is going to pitch for them here on Tuesday, and then also that'll be Sean Manaea on Wednesday. So the big story is Edwin Diaz threw 40-something pitches in the last 2 days. So he's not going to be a bit like they used their A bullpen game 1. They really went all in to win that game. They're pretty. They don't have a lot of guys left right now in the pen. So that's a good thing if you are the Brewers. So if they can get to Severino early tomorrow, that could be a huge scenario. That might mean they need to bring in another starter. There's going to be some questions on how the Mets construct the postseason roster. So you like that for the Brewers side. It seems Sean Manaea is going to go Wednesday for them. So bringing in a lefty, having that kind of matchup, not ideal, you'd say, but the Brewers can hang in there. You hope Bryce Terang can still put together some impact at bats against the lefties in this series. On the Brewers side, I mean, we should start with kind of talking about this roster construction. Um, how we think they're gonna build this team for the postseason roster. They are due tomorrow morning, so if you're listening Monday night or if you're listening Tuesday, you might know them by then. So I'll kind of keep it brief. But Sal Frelick, hopefully he's on it. We saw videos of him running the bases today, so that was really good to see. I'm glad he's running the bases and he's doing well. Um, so we'll see on him, and then also the relievers. Rob Zastrinzny, are we going to see him? Are we going to see Brian Hudson? Those are two of the lefties. Is Hobie Milner going to make the roster? Like it's the lefty relievers that we've talked prior. Are who's going to make it? So I'm excited to see kind of how the roster shakes out, and I think like the position players are relatively like set in stone. There might be a couple guys who surprise, or a guy or two maybe who surprises us, but depending if Sal makes it or not is kind of like would be the surprises. Who replaces Sal? Is it going to be Collins? I don't know. I don't think he'll make the roster, but just things to keep in mind as we get to that. And again, the game time's 4:32 p.m., 6:38 p.m., and then, if necessary, Game 3, 7:38. So a little bit of a scheduling thing. I know there's the VP debates tomorrow night, so that ends up kind of conflicting with how they schedule our series, is what I've read. So instead of being a 6:38 Game 1, as is Game 2, it's 4:32. So not too happy with that. I'll be there for Game 1. That was the other thing. Like the episode's coming out tonight. Let's talk about it. So that is what we'll see. And hopefully a nice sweep if they were to do such in that sweep. I believe that NLDS would kick off already on Saturday, October 5th. So this Saturday already would be Game 1 in Philly. So the winner of the series goes to Philadelphia for games 1, 2, and 5 if necessary. So that is what we're looking at for the postseason for the Brewers side. So it's going to be Mets and then Phillies and then the winner of Dodgers versus whoever on that. So it'd be Dodgers, Braves, or Padres. So that's what the postseason bracket's looking at like on the NL. We're not going to talk about the AL. That doesn't matter to us until hopefully later. So that is what we're looking at. Willie Adames wrapped up his monster regular season. That for me is the story. The standing ovation yesterday. I know these games didn't matter these last 4 or 5 days, which you'd love to be in that spot where they don't matter. In a good way, right? Not like in a we're eliminated way. In a more of like, hey, these games might not matter, but like Willie Adames can get that standing ovation in the 7th inning, just come out and after his monster regular season. That was cool to see Sunday, for example. Or on Saturday, right? Like a laid back, like that. It was postseason atmosphere on Saturday in a game the Brewers won on Fan Appreciation Night. I was also there. We saw a car given out, cool things like that, right? I mean, there's signed jerseys. I got these Bernie Shalley snow globes. You got vouchers for next year. So cool things like that for the squad. And I'm excited. I think that's the word many people will use. Just tomorrow going to the stadium and like, hey, this could be the year, or it could be like last year, like this 2 games and we're done, right? I mean, that's the other side of the coin that you don't want to think about, but like, hey, this could be like the last 2 games with this team, but we're going to think more about the first part here where, hey, this team took care of the Mets in the regular season. I know it doesn't mean anything here in the postseason, but why not? Why not? They say undaunted. That's the phrase this year, right? That Murphy went with at the All-Star break, but which I like. I think it's a great phrase. I think it's a great team slogan here. We'll see it at the ballpark tomorrow, but like, why not this team? So again, 93 and 69 was this team, finishing again with 90 plus wins. Excited to see how it lines up. Mets won 89 games. They got hot this last month, and that'll do it. So that wraps up the baseball talk here. 3 games. Let's win the first 2 and not worry about game 3. How about that? All right, let's talk through the Packers here. It'll be a shorter episode again, just in the nature of, we got to celebrate podcast day still, but with respects to look, the technical difficulties this podcast has experienced in the last 2 weeks out of the three, or I mean, and I say three, over 3.5 years of doing this, it has been unprecedented. I just am shocked. Like I had the audio going, like I had the show yesterday or last week. It showed my mic going, and I was like, perfect, we're all good. After I listened to it, it's nothing. It's a whole lot of nothing. Um, and then the week prior, um, it just we had video issues. I had the whole thing, and we just gotta work through them. And that's where like I don't know, just gotta keep that in mind. Like I've never had issues like with anything, which is great. Like recording, like it's been phenomenal. But he's sometimes take that for granted. Not having technical difficulties, and uh, not sure, but gotta love microphone we've had for years here on the show, and it's not going yet. It's got years in it left, and a lot of years hopefully. And I'm just saying with durability, we'll see. But okay, Packer game, 28-0 down. What do you do? So, right, the game. I want to preface this with right. They announced Jair was out, which to some was a kind of a surprise out. You thought he might play or he was going to be good to go, but had a big game week prior and then unable to play in this week. But I think the big thing was not having Jair. It was we saw the corners have to, like Corey Ballantyne was a guy who was gonna have to be leveraged more, and Jordan Addison for the Vikings returns, and it's like okay, the Vikings gain a guy, we lose a guy. Vikings pass offense has already been good without Addison the last couple of weeks, and we saw 3 for 72 for him, which might not seem a lot, but schematically having Jordan Addison, having a second option for Sam Darnold and this Vikings offense led to a nightmare for Packer pass coverage. It opened up for Jefferson a little bit, let him work more east to west, which is where he's best. No denying that. And kind of let this offense just get in a groove. That was, the Vikings offense had some turnovers. I know, right? We had a couple fumbles. One was an absolute gift on special teams by Jalen Naylor, but like Darnold fumbled and had an interception. But besides those plays, Darnold, right, he was 20 for 28, 3 touchdowns, 1 pick. Um, he played really good today. He played a very good game. Obviously, Aaron Jones, they had going for him 22 a night for 93. Nobody really else going on the run game. Jones averaging 4.2 yards per carry. That's what he does. He did enough. He didn't play like have like a phenomenal game that they were saying he was going to have and just torch the Packers. But he's 4 for 46. He had a total like 130 something rushing plus receiving. So like a great game for Jones, but not no touchdown for him. He wanted that Lambeau leap. Just in terms of yardage though, that's where I'm saying. I think if you were watching, it'd be more of it was more of a solid game. I think the stats are a little misleading on him. The story with the Packers offense. So Love was 32 of 54, 4 touchdowns, 3 picks. Okay, 2 of those picks. I mean, one of those was just absolute fluke with where it was just tipped up. First receiver misses it. Second guy, it was Dobbs maybe. It hits off his hands and it just goes right to the Vikings. Kind of fluky. One was absolute force to Wicks at the end there. Just a bad throw, bad read by Love. I don't know the other one. The other one was another one that was kind of like fluky little tip drill thing, but hey, he still threw 3 picks. So I think still like Love looked good. You could tell he's a little hurt. He's playing hurt. That was noticeable during the game. But they managed. The big thing was the Christian Watson injury. We're hoping he's all good. It sounds like he might avoid an IR stint. Not sure on that though. So we'll have to keep that in mind and see kind of what the reports are throughout the week. But who comes in then in 3 receiver sets? It was not like a mix of Bo Melton and Wicks. It was just straight Dontavian Wicks. He got the role, thrived in it, 13 targets. He was almost getting there were some forces in there. I mentioned the interception to him, which was a big force in my opinion. So I think some of that was just too many forces there for Wicks, or from Love to Wicks. Jaden Reed, 7 for 139, though. That was the story. Reed is such a smooth receiver. 42-yard had that big play in there as well on 8 targets. Tucker Kraft was the guy, not Luke Musgrave. Tucker Kraft was the tight end getting the receiving work on 9 targets. I think that's a credit to Luke Musgrave and the work he does blocking as well. I think that's where kind of Kraft slides in and can put up games like this. 6 for 53 is solid, showing for him on 9 targets. Dobbs was 4 for 39. And then you saw Jacobs have a total of 78 rushing plus receiving yards. Was efficient on the ground today. Just game script when you're down 28-0. We're not going to have the Josh Jacobs run the ball game. It's going to be we need to pass the ball and get points on the board pretty quick. So that's where we saw the 9 for 51, 5.7 a carry. Emmanuel Wilson was 8 for 27. Just game script again. When you run, it was just such a weird game. Packers ran, what was it, 73 plays? Just crazy offensive numbers in this one for Green Bay. It had some weird moments in this game too. The Matt LaFleur saga at halftime, wanting the timeout, just goes off on the official and picks up a 15-yard penalty where fortunately Jordan Love and Reed were able to help out there and save the day on that touchdown, but that could have been rough. I haven't even mentioned it yet. I was avoiding the topic. Braden Narvison. Hey, he was 3 for 3 on his extra points. Look, the kicking situation is just not ideal right now. Narvison's played great in the first couple of games, made some big kicks against his former team even last week. But look, this team is needing. We need Wicks, or not Wicks, really. We need Narvison to just step it up from the field goal for field goals. Those first two, the first one it was close to an extra point. What was it? 37 yards was missed. That one was I think the tough one in my eyes. You can be mad about the other long one he missed was like 47. But I just think overall, like, you want to have one of those, and obviously, like looking back in the score, they lost by 2, and they needed he left 6 points up on the board. But I think the big thing was just not consistent for field goals. He's had some missed kicks so far this year. You don't expect perfection, but you expect, at least for the gimmies inside 40s, you got to be well over 95%, 90%. So that's kind of where for this team, it's special teams can cost you some games. The Packers got a touchdown off of a special teams miscue by the Vikings I mentioned before. Look, I think with the kicking situation, you're going to ride Narvison out for another week, but definitely look for some guys available. There are a couple kickers who are still available who are solid NFL kickers. So you just gotta keep those in mind when we're going through, at least on the Packers side, looking for guys who are available. We'll see how next week goes, though. They are playing in LA against the Rams. 3:25, so your first 3:25 kickoff of the year next Sunday. That is, again, against the Rams in LA. Cooper Kupp has already been ruled out, as will Puka Nacua not be able to play. So 2 of their top weapons on offense are out already for the Rams. And then also on their defense, they're still dealing with a beat-up secondary and some guys where this Packers team should be able to put up some points and win the game. Also, look on the Packers side, hopefully Jair's back, have him healthy, and kind of see where this team's at. Another week for Love to get some rest. That's kind of the other thought, too, is like this Packers team, they're 2-2 right now. Detroit is playing right now. They're up by 8 only. Now they're up 14, so we'll see what happens there. But otherwise, being 2 games back in Minnesota already, you got a game against them. Minnesota has a game against the Jets in London. That could be a win for the Jets, hopefully. Pick up some ground already on those teams. Not going to rule anything out yet. Maybe they can still win the division. It's early, 4 games in. Not going to worry about it, but right now our thoughts are really on the Brewers, right? So with that, I'll close it out here. Probably no episode of Journey Million this week, as playoff games. I know Jared's going to be at some of the games too, as will myself. So we'll keep those in mind. And I appreciate you all, bear or listening here with the whole technical difficulty thing the last couple of weeks. Appreciate always the listeners, and that's what International Podcast Day is about. I've always said this is it's not about I may be the one talking the whole time and bringing up great things in sports. But it's you, the listener, who makes this very own show possible, right? So that's pretty cool. Kudos to all the listeners. And then, of course, right, our Wisconsin sports teams, our beloved teams that make this possible too. Without the teams, there's nothing to talk about. So I'll close it with that on this Monday night. I hope you all have a great rest of your week. I hope my mic stuff. I hope all the technical difficulties here they clear up this show for this show and for the future ones. So I'll wrap it here. Thank you all for listening to another episode of Drew Sports Crew, the perfect podcast for you.